Hello and welcome to our channel, the Barrett channel. Welcome back to all those regular viewers of our update, and welcome to any new viewers. Today another update on the COVID-19 situation, coming to you from Shenzhen here in China. Today it's 23 degrees and clear, quite a nice sunny day outside, quite warm. Okay, without further ado, let's get on to the numbers. So the numbers for China: there are 75,567 confirmed cases, 2,239 deaths, and 18,277 people have recovered. Of the confirmed cases, 11,633 are in a severe condition. So the active cases within China, which is the confirmed cases less people who've either died or recovered, is 55,051. Still continues to be 4 provinces with more than 1,000 confirmed cases, and they are Guangdong with 1,333, and Guangdong have 664 active cases. Henan with 1,267 confirmed and 531 active. Zhejiang with 1,203 confirmed and 555 active. And finally Hunan with 1,011 confirmed, and they have 369 active. As you can see from the graphic scrolling up the screen, quite a few provinces are having a recovery rate greater than 50%. And obviously from some data I shared a couple of days ago, it's obvious that there's a lot of people who are only getting very mild symptoms and are recovering quite quickly, and that's really great news. On to globally, so this is all around the rest of the world apart from China. There are 1,151 confirmed cases, 8 deaths, and 139 people have recovered. So where most of those are, Japan has quite a large amount, but a majority of Japan's cases are from the Diamond Princess cruise ship. Quite worryingly, South Korea have 74 new confirmed cases today. And I'll talk a little bit more about the South Korea situation a little bit later. But before I do that, onto death and recovery rates. Now, I calculate these on a people who've either recovered or died. I don't include any of the numbers that are people who are still confirmed to have it, but are still either ill or not recovered. So these are basically a daily sort of snapshot of the percentages of recovered and deaths. I don't have any sophisticated modelling software to use, and that's not my expertise. So this is just like a snapshot figure. So within Hubei province, the recovery rate is 84.6% and the death rate is 15.4%. The rest of China, excluding Hubei, recovery rate is 98.6% and the death rate is 1.4%. Globally, excluding China, the recovery rate is 94.5% and the death rate is 5.5%. Obviously, there's a huge discrepancy for within Hubei province, and that is really down to that it's been really hard for the medical staff to actually get on top of the situation. They've had such a large number of infections there. Many people haven't been treated in a reasonable amount of time. And I think that's no criticism of the Hubei province authorities at this stage. I think they're doing all they can. There's over 30,000 additional medical workers there from all over the country. But it's just that they are sheerly overwhelmed with the number of people that they have to treat. And I think I've said this many times in my previous presentations. So that's the numbers done. Something interesting, I was pointed to a YouTube video by one of my viewers on my last update, and I went to have a look at this and I found it quite interesting. I will leave a link to the video and the channel in the description, but basically what this video uncovers, a number of states in the USA are not reporting suspected cases. And they're pointing to data privacy concerns and issues. I find that very interesting. Whether that extends to confirmed cases or not, I really don't know. And the second interesting thing I found from this video is that it highlights a post that was put onto Facebook by a New York City fire department that had said they'd just taken somebody to hospital or an emergency department of a hospital with breathing difficulties, and they said that patient had returned from China either the previous day or a few days before. This post was only up for a few hours until it was allegedly deleted by the New York State Department. And the New York State Department then suggested that people should not take any notice of posts on social media from unverified sources, i.e. random posts, and they should only listen to data from official social media channels. Again, I find that very interesting. I'm not going to comment on that, but I'll leave you to think what you want to about that. But as I say, I've left the link in the description to the video and to the channel. It's also interesting to note that the WHO, the World Health Organization, have also made a statement saying that they are finding it quite difficult to obtain accurate information from a number of countries on this, and that may be down to data privacy. I found it interesting to see the other day that the first time Iran had said anything about any cases was when they reported that 2 people had died from the virus. Now, previous to that, they had reported no case at all. Subsequently, today they have reported 3 more cases. Okay, so many people, especially those outside of Asia, think that this COVID-19 is not their problem because most countries outside of Asian countries have only seen a very small amount of cases in their country, and they think this is a China problem. But in fact, actually, it's not a China problem. And very soon, those other countries are going to see the effect of the COVID-19 virus hit them. And I think it's going to hit quite hard. The reason I say that is the global supply chain and the economy. So China, over the last 15-20 years, has become the global factory for the world. And many either finished products or components to build other products come from China. And there's been a massive disruption due to the COVID-19 virus. There's been a massive disruption in the manufacturing and shipping of products from China, and this is going to have a huge ripple effect around the world, and I think that's going to start probably in early March. So to give you some idea about this, in the last 4 weeks, half of the sailings of container ships, cargo ships from Chinese ports to Northern Europe have been cancelled. The same is now happening with sailings from the Pacific Rim to America and Latin America. So for the last 3 to 4 weeks, there's been approximately 300,000 containers that haven't been leaving ports from China. That is a massive amount of goods, and this is going to start to cause a logistical crunch in Europe and the US and Latin America over the next few weeks. So when container ships are not leaving China, it means products are not getting out. And it also means that when ships are not leaving China, products are not getting picked up in Hong Kong and Vietnam and Korea and some of these other Asian countries, Singapore. So, it's not just products shipping out of China that are problematic, it's products from these other Asian economies as well. Currently there are ships queuing up to dock that can't dock in Chinese ports because there's just no room. All the berths are taken up by ships that are already docked, and the ports are just full of containers. And the main reason that is there's just a massive shortage of dock workers and drivers, and that's because most of these kind of workers, they're migrant workers, and many haven't been able to travel back either because they're nervous to travel back and they're staying home in quarantine. They're either nervous to catch the virus, or they can't travel back due to travel restrictions around China. So the US Agriculture Transportation Commission has said that Pacific supply chain has been badly compromised and logistical headaches are building up at US ports as well. Now, another problem that this is going to cause, there's a very finite sort of logistics issue where when stuff ships out of China in containers, it arrives in Europe, those containers are empty then to ship on goods to other parts of the world. And it's going to start to be that because there's so many containers in China or waiting on ships to dock in Chinese ports, that there's going to be a massive shortage of containers both in the US and around Europe. So this is obviously going to have a knock-on effect to cargo shipping, between European countries or Africa and other countries. So this has a huge ripple effect around the world. And I think one of the industries that's going to get hit first is the car industry, because the car industry works on a very short timeline for components, very short supply chain time for components. And already Fiat Chrysler have had to suspend production of a number of models at their Serbian plant because they haven't been able to get audio systems for the vehicles from China. And Jaguar Land Rover in the UK have also said they only have enough components to last for approximately another 2 weeks before they run out. Some of the manufacturers, some of the companies can get around this by air freighting products, but again there's another two issues with this. One, air freight is far more expensive than sea freight, hugely more expensive. And secondly, that due to all the passenger flights that have now been cancelled in and out of China, the capacity on air cargo is limited. Coupled with that the Chinese authorities are giving priority to air freight space for medical supplies, then the amount of commercial cargo that can go on those flights is much more limited, and that also pushes the price even higher. As whether you're aware or not, a lot of commercial cargo does also go on passenger aircraft, and as I said, there's a lot less passenger aircraft coming in and out of China too. So I think you can start to expect problems with supply of products in many countries around the world, and also I think that prices will start rising of certain products as the demand is there, but there will be a shortage of supply. This inevitably, due to market forces, will push price up. Similar to what you've seen in many countries now with masks, because the demand is so high, there's a shortage of these, it pushes the price up. And this happens, anywhere where there's a supply and demand issue. So Korea have seen a spike in the number of cases I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the global figures. This is mainly in a city called Daegu, and also in the capital Seoul. Now, authorities in Daegu have said they've now turned this area into a special kind of quarantine zone, and they're worried that this new spike in cases is going to overwhelm their health system. So they are now turning their efforts to stop the spread, and they're implementing a lot of measures. Reports coming out of Korea are that the cities are just completely empty. Everybody's staying indoors, which is a great thing. It seems that, unlike in Western countries where I think that if the government announced things like this, there'd be riots and chaos and there'd be looting, and that in Asian countries people tend to listen to what the government tell them. They stay indoors and they abide by the instructions they're given. which is quite different to some Western countries. So other pieces of news now. China have yet again changed their counting criteria. This has drawn some criticism from experts outside of China, but they are now saying that unless they have been confirmed with the COVID-19 test, the test that uses the DNA, they will be no longer counted as confirmed cases. They will only be counted as suspected cases. Authorities in Hubei province, which is where most of the cases are here in China, have advised companies not to start work until the earliest 11th of March. This is for all companies excluding sort of emergency services and public services companies like electricity, gas, water, etc., etc. As the virus is much more under control in most other provinces in China, factories are cautiously starting back to work, but they do have to adhere to a number of measures and precautions that the government have issued, taking temperatures, having various zones within the factory so that not too many people get too close to each other if possible, etc., etc. I think also outside of Hubei province, you need to get this into some sort of perspective as well, because if you look at take Guangdong, which is the province with one of the highest number of cases outside of Hubei, and that has approximately 650 active cases, known cases. And that's but what you have to remember is Guangdong have a population of 110 million people. So I don't know, that's probably less than 1 in every 100,000 people. So I think, getting into perspective, when we did our walk around videos, people were saying, oh, it's dangerous to go out, but I think you really do have to try and get some perspective on this in the sense that you're probably more likely to be killed in a road accident or injured in a road accident in Guangdong province than contracting the virus. We can't suspend our lives forever. We can't stay in forever. So what you have to do, you just have to exercise caution when you go. I take my hand gel, I use it often. If I go to a supermarket and pay for something and I've touched the checkout or I've done things like that, I put the hand gel on to sanitize my hands. I wear my mask. I avoid as much as possible interaction with other people. Obviously you can't completely not interact with other people when you're buying things or doing shopping, but as much as possible, and most other Chinese citizens are doing that. They're very careful, they're very cautious. I don't see anybody wearing a mask. I really am not 100% sure how effective the masks are, but I think something is better than nothing. But it's just common sense. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. You just have to minimize your risk as much as possible. But I think staying indoors for kind of ever and a day is not going to be the answer. In Hubei province, yes, because there's a massive spread, but right now, because of all the measures that have been taken outside of Hubei province, really I feel the risk is far lower. So that brings me to the end of today's update. I appreciate you all for watching if you've got this far. As I said in my last video, I'll be doing these updates now every 2 days, as I don't feel there's enough new news coming out on a daily basis. If anything major does happen, I will do an update, but failing that, it will be every 2 days. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, because it really helps our algorithm and helps us get out there. If you like the channel in general, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and if you want to be notified as soon as we've got a new video out, hit those bells. But as always, see you next time. For now, take care.